Hello, I'm Josh.
I'm Josh.
And I am not Josh, but together we are
Joshing around in air.
Right, very rapidly started this because Josh was about to tell us a
and
story
so
about
high energy as well.
Yeah. Completely
beans.
like superhero pose from you
exactly.
halfway through.
Well, yeah, I was just going to bore you guys with, back when I used to work in a pub, people always used to complain because, when you make a gin tonic, you want to fill the glass with ice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you get less drink, because every time we give you the shot of gin and the little bottle of Fever Tree. So it literally makes no difference how much drink you get. But people always used to claim the same thing, which is, I don't want too much ice. I don't want it to water down my drink. And I'd say to them, but that's not the case. The more ice you have, the less likely it's going to water down your drink, because you've got this greater amount of ice of which you're drawing a little bit. like you're warming up each ice cube a little bit, which means none of them melt as much, and the greater amount. And they'd always look at me confused. Why is a bartender?
I can imagine. 10:30 on a Friday night, all up just give me my drink,
raging at this person. The thermodynamics of this mean that more ice is better.
Yeah.
Sorry, how did you lose this job again?
No, well, I always remember them being well, what do you know about this? And I was I've just finished studying mechanical engineering and I did thermodynamics. And maybe, okay. Then.
You're probably at the point. Oh, man.
But yeah, there you go.
I'm just very excited because this drink has the largest ice cube that I've ever seen in my life. You can only hear one cube clinking.
Oh, yeah, that was what sparked the lecture about thermodynamics and large amounts of ice.
But yeah, Josh, what have you brought for us for our happy hour today?
Well, I've just raided my cupboard. I found a little bit of spiced rum that had been kicking around untouched for a couple of years. So I thought I'd make a little cocktail out of it. I have no idea what this is called. Someone just made it for me once and it tastes good. It's 2 parts spiced rum, 1 part agave syrup and 1 part lime juice. And it just makes something deliciously drinkable. But, you want to be careful because, it's pretty strong.
Well,
cheers.
Oh, that's a masculine
I put a bit of a clunk in there because I really wanted the mics to pick it up.
I'm just glad I chose not to do the same thing and smash that glass. Oh, that is amazing. This is like drinking squash straight out of the bottle. It's that sort of level of sweetness, and I'm definitely here for it.
It reminds me of going on holiday to France as a kid and getting grenadine syrup that when you pour it out of the bottle that you're pour and there comes the liquid.
Right, yeah. You have to wait for it. There's a latency. Grenadine latency.
Yeah, I like it. I definitely think that I would end up drinking way, way more than I ought to.
Yeah. So much.
Yeah, it's very... Yeah, it's a little dangerous, this one. It's very drinkable, and then later you realise how strong it is. It is, 50% rum.
Third podcast we record today is going to be great fun.
Well, on that note, I had a podcast idea, and I need a little bit of help from the listeners to persuade my co-host to do it.
Yes.
I think we need to do a quiz, and each of us will be quizzed on the faction we play by the other two. And for each question you get wrong, you have to take a shot. And then we'll do about 10 questions. We'll see how many you get right, and we'll see how many shots you have to take. So if you guys would like to hear the mess of that episode, then please write in to joshingaroundinair at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. Yep. Same
correct.
every time. and I keep messing up.
Yeah, please write in and tell us that you would like to see Josh, and not Josh all get a bunch of questions wrong and take some shots of grappa.
Considering that 100k have just been updated, I will be very inebriated.
And also important context is that I have been playing Spires for 3 years now, something like that, and I still don't know the basic stat blocks for the same units that have not changed.
Every time I hit the abomination, you're like, defense 3?
Defense 3, 4? I think it's defense 4. No, Sam, it's defense 3. Always has been defense 3. Let me just check. Oh, no, you're right, yeah.
For some reason, it's that and then the resolve on the brute drones. You always know the defense, but you always forget the resolve on the brute drones.
Which is odd, because those two are actually identical.
They are, aren't they? It's 3 and 3 for both, right?
3 and 4, I think.
Oh, sorry, my bad. 3 and 4.
Resolve 4.
Yeah, it's
that's
resolve
the thing
4.
with brute
It's
drones.
happening again.
But incarnate sentinels are the other way around. They're 4 and 3.
What I'm looking forward to as well is when we throw in like a rogue question about the lore to Sam, as he is the Goonhammer expert.
Oh,
on
yes,
lore.
absolutely.
And when he gets it wrong, and we shame him for his.
Yeah, steady on. The challenge with the spires is that not a lot has been written about them in the lore pages, apart from like in passing in other...
Every other bit of lore.
You have to study
yeah.
every little bit of lore to know what's going on with them.
You're reading about the Einher jar,
Yeah.
and sorry, butchering the pronunciation, but spires gets mentioned like in passing as if it's relevant, and you're not entirely sure why, and so you have to have read absolutely everything and have your wall covered in little pins and bits of wire joining everything together.
The red wire just in the basement. I think I think that's a great idea. That could be enough. If you do think that's a good idea, you feel free to email. I am also on Discord as SeanBean97. So if you feel like you need to Discord me about it, feel free to. Sorry, I did like Sean Bean. Right?
Yeah, what age were you again when you created this one? 14-year-old Josh thought this was the best name ever.
The funniest thing is that this is a username I've only taken in the last few years. It used to be something far more like normal.
My friends always used to laugh at me because my username was always just my name. And they went for like typical teenager usernames, and it was always Josh Cornford's joined the game.
Oh dear. There you go. All the usernames are coming out. Yeah, no, that sounds great. Do you guys want an actual listener question?
Yeah, go on.
Great. Let me just bring it up. Oh, guys, our 8th biggest.
Yeah, go on then.
Sam
I'm just having a bit more. It's very nice.
Sam is on the floor.
I live around the corner now, so I've got to
make
the most of it.
Easy stroll back, eh? Love it. Right, our 8th biggest fan is back, guys. It's from our pal Drew. He says, "Hello, Josh and not Josh. I lost sleep over wondering who would win in a grudge match: a single fish gnome, a spire clone, or a single dino from a hunting pack. Perhaps you guys can help me out. Cheers, your 8th biggest fan." This is like the ultimate, like, kind of featherweight matchup.
Let's just repeat those participants again, please.
So a single fish gnome, a spire clone.
A clone or a
Clone.
drone?
It says clone.
Oh, okay.
I feel like clones are maybe like a bound clone. I assume it's a bound clone.
Fish gnomes can be vicious.
Or a single dino from a hunting pack.
And is this like a battle royale style?
Yeah, it's like a 1, 2, 3 go at each other. I assume the bound clone, he can still have his little stick, and the fish gnome will have his little hook. And the hunting pack guy will have his teeth, I guess.
So that is the hunting pack is purely a question of who hits first.
Much like the rules, they reflect the real life. Okay,
But if it's 1v1v1 rather than each doing an arm wrestle in pairs, then hunting pack is unlikely to get the first hit off against both. So I don't think it could be hunting pack. And so I'm going to go for the clone will win because it has a shield and a spear.
Yeah, I mean, it just wins every time.
What's the life expectancy of a clone? Because I know the drones last like days, right?
Yes, yeah. Clones are longer.
Okay.
I assume a clone would receive a good few months.
Well, that's what I was thinking. The fish gnome. I mean, depending on the size of the battlefield, you could just hide for a little bit and just win, by outlasting him.
He's on a timer.
Yeah, and I don't know. Is there any water? Is there going to be a river?
No, it's just grass, man. Come on. Like, we're overcomplicating this already. It's a grudge match. I don't think they're going to go, let's find the bit with the most even level of terrain so that we both have hindering to go through.
No, I was just thinking if there's any water, I'd give it to the fish gnome. But if not...
Oh, yeah. He's a fish gnome after all.
I don't know.
So, I mean, I get the impression of the characters of fish gnomes, and I'll be honest, I haven't done a huge amount of reading into the lore of that particular faction. But the way that I perceive them from the imagery is that it's sort of Tasmanian devil style energy.
Oh, okay, fish gnome. That's it. That's my vote. Parabellum, make the faction. Let's make it happen. Come on. I've signed Aaron's petition, 10 signatures and they'll get made.
I once watched a video. I think it was a guy called... Do you remember Lindy Beige, Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a history YouTuber. I used to watch a bit back in the day.
Yeah, when you find one of his videos, you've spent too long on YouTube.
Yeah,
that's
yeah. You found the bottom of the barrel. That's really, his stuff is actually really good. But he did a video where he did loads of different combinations of arms against each other. So it was like 6v6, but one side had swords, one had spears, and then it was like 1v1, sword and shield, and the other guy had a spear. And basically every time there was a spear, the spear won. Because it's just like, it's a long stick and you can just keep people away with it. You just poke it at them and they just can't get around you. Obviously the person with the sword just had to run in as quick as possible to try and like get you. But if you just had you just shuffle back and just poke. And so I'm just thinking, this Baron clone, he's just going to have a great time. He's got shield as well. So if you do get close enough, he just bashes you in the face. Easy.
Right, there we go. Sorry, Drew.
How dare you ask this question?
It turned out to not be a good question at all.
Well, do you know what? I feel like it's good. In fact, we all had different answers. I'm fully in camp fish gnome. Josh is he's following the clone. And
Yeah, I was clone as well. You just
Clone
wrong,
as
I'm
well.
sorry.
Yeah, no, that hunting pack dino isn't getting much love, is he?
No one rated him. We know he's definitely losing. You two are clone buddies, and I'm going for the fish gnomes.
There you go. Well,
Okay.
good
Your
chat,
opinions are
guys.
clones of each other.
Oh.
Sorry, that was bad. Carry on.
Right. We're a little bit late to the party on this, but we thought it'd be good to chat about the Nords update that's come alongside the Wardrune update, maybe kind of back end of 2024. It was quite exciting. There was a couple of new changes. Again, with the whole kind of keywords being added in. You got the half-bloods, you got the tribal and all of that sort of stuff, which looks great. But yeah, Josh, I think obviously you have had the experience of playing with them. I just wondered, look, we can go through a few of the changes that got made alongside all the January changes. But in terms of the changes from last year, how does Nords feel on a kind of high level compared to the Nords of old before you kind of delved into Old Dominion?
Yeah, so what they've tried to do is they've tried to embrace the idea that there's different tribes. And, it was kind of always known that you'd kind of have your kind of more beastly armies and you'd have your more human armies with Nords. But now they've split it into four categories, kind of. So you've got your half-bloods, which is kind of all your beast packs, your Ugir, Stalkers, Fallens, that, but anything that kind of would have been part of the Blooded or the Lord Vargir's kind of war bands.
So anything that's kind of human but not really human.
Yeah, like kind of a bit, human to beastly human. And then you've got your mortals, which are just your kind of pure humans. That's your raiders, your Huskals, your Bearsarks, all of those in that kind of camp. You've then got your Exalted, which is like your Chosens. So really it's just the Bow Chosen, the Steel Chosen. And then you've got your Titans. They're often Exalted and Titans. They kind of fit into both categories, which is basically your Jotnars.
Yeah.
So they're the kind of different categories. And they've gone for a little bit of synergy. I mean, as we are a bit later to this party, they've definitely not gone nearly as deep as I feel like 100 Kingdoms have.
Yeah.
So they've started to put some synergies in there, but it doesn't feel like there's absolutely loads of them at the moment. Yeah, so it still feels pretty much like you can run what you want. I think what's changes from before? So they've tried to bring back a little bit of Nords early game. So Raiders can now score.
Yeah. Chuck
So
a captain on.
You put captain in there, and they add 1 towards scoring an objective, which I must say so far has been useless for me personally. I keep facing Sam, and like, because his spies are so fast, by the time I get Raiders in an objective, he's getting in there, and I've got 1 scoring, and he's got some lights contesting. So it's just, it's not really been a huge deal. But yeah, they've tried to bring that back in there, a bit more speed. And I think that's a little bit, when they did their flavour text at the end, they're trying to kind of, they still see that as being Nord's thing, the fact that they're fairly quick and aggressive and out there. But also, the probably biggest exciting new thing is Nords have got a new model, or a couple of new models, but one particularly that feels like I think you're going to see a lot of lists built around, and that is a Jotnar character. So you've now got a Jotnar who has as his warbands, other Jotnars.
Yeah.
And that is pretty massive in terms of you can suddenly build a list with like quite a few Jotnars in it. And also the model itself is probably the best tank Nords have. Yeah. So Nords have now got something that properly sticks around. And you don't have to be super delicate with it. You can throw it out there, and it's going to take quite a few hits before it goes down. So I feel like that's a really exciting change, and definitely changes the way that the army is a little bit. So
Okay. Sorry, just with your Jotnar Seder, let me run a couple of things by you, Josh. Because we played a game recently, and I threw everything except the kitchen sink at it, and it would not die. I think, what was it? Hardened 1?
So it's
Fearless?
Yep.
Defense 3, Evasion 2?
Yep.
Anything
Tenacious.
else?
Tenacious, yeah.
It's then got Resolve 4, and as a Nord, if you successfully charge, then you get +1 Resolve. So
Resolve 5
I did have Resolve 5 for quite a few of the turns you attacked me.
And his wounds like
horrific.
52 or something.
That's about right. I think it's 117.
Wounds 20, right?
Yeah. Wounds 20. Yeah.
So 6 off a tontal.
6 off a tons. Yeah, it is. It's great. Me and Josh played, and Josh straight went to me afterwards. He said, "Enjoy that for the next little bit because it's going to get nerfed soon."
Yeah.
And then literally the next day they changed the rules on it.
But
by reducing it by
brackets.
20 points.
Yeah, reduced it by 20 points. And what was it? Gain something else? But they made it a heavy instead of a medium.
They made it a heavy, and it
just a bit more
reduced
late
20
game.
points. Actually, it turns out it was always worth 6 stands, and
you just forgot for that game.
do you know what I also forgot for that game as well? It was the fact that every time you charge and you successfully charge, you get to add +1 to your like scoring capabilities. So there was quite a few times
where it would have counted as 7.
it feels like this is the new thing in Nords at least, but just Conquest in general. There's lots of tiny little rules for you to just forget, and then at the end of the game go, I should have had a +1 there, and I should have done this there.
Yeah, I totally forgot to mention this in the 100k episode, but I'm going to mention it now just in case you listen to that one and you've stumbled across this one. That you can actually now 100 Kingdoms have a thing where the resolve bonus you receive for having a large regiment, you get that as extra stands for scoring. So you could have a bunch of light militia in a block of four of them. You get an extra stand for scoring. So you'd be 1 stand for scoring. So 100 Kingdoms now has light scoring. It's great. Means you can have a block of longbowmen. My 5 block of longbowmen that I was running at LGT and Bad Moon tournaments now scores. It's great.
Oh, it's massive.
Anyway, Carol, but yeah, I think Conquest is going that way a little bit more with extra stands for scoring or unyielding, where it takes away your ability to score. There's a lot of scoring stuff now because I think they're cottoning on that people are kind of getting more efficient with their scoring capability, and so they're changing that with the rules and things.
Yeah, but yeah, it's fantastic. And yet Nords has definitely seen a lot more of that. So I think it's interesting, despite the fact them talking about they want to be very early again. The new Jotnar model is fantastic, which again pushes more to late game. But they've also made the Mountain Jotnar and the new Jotnar Seder both count as 6 towards scoring, which feels pretty massive when you start bringing these heavies
on and you've got 6 stands.
Exactly. I mean, it's what they were trying to do a bit with Old Dominion, trying to make the command stands worth more, because the idea is if you're behind, rather than you have to kill the enemy regiment to be able to contest or start scoring, you now just have to get onto the objective and you can kind of, outmatch them. So yeah, I think that's really exciting. I think that's going to probably be the biggest change to Nords, is with all the Jotnar changes. I think they're actually going to have quite a strong late game, which is going to feel weird for an army that used to be dead by, turn 6 or 7.
Yeah. Well, what I like now is that they've changed, and I think Leo said this in the happy hour, just before all the changes. He said that the way you used to play Nords, well, the way that the rules supported the Nords was that you would do more damage if you already took damage. And that's not really the way that
so they'd get
Nords
flurry
play.
And
flurry
fury.
and +1 attacks or something like that. And you think, oh, that's great, but like I've taken damage, and so my regiment, and because you're quite glass cannony, you've suddenly taken, maybe 2 stands of damage. You're broken. It's like, great, I have flurry, but I also have to rally. And you're just like, this doesn't feel as good. Whereas now it's like, right, you've lost that, but you've gained other stuff that means you kind of do more on the charge. Like you get +1 resolve on a charge. It's like, that's great. It's like now you're made more tanky by the charge itself, and you're like, that makes more sense.
It encourages
trying to make you more killy after you've already taken damage when you would have really hurt yourself. I remember you even talking about that, like way back when we were playing Nords, that you're like, it is cool having this thing, but sometimes like I feel like unless it's chip damage, it really feels like it's not that much of a bonus.
Yeah, getting flurry was lovely, but often too many regiments, apart from stuff like trolls in the day where you used to be able to consistently get off with that. Other stuff was too weak. It didn't. They needed to have higher wounds. But yeah, so I think lots of those ones are great. My only slight gripe was, Nords is the always charging army. You want to be, ABC. I'm going to charge you every time.
Always be charging.
That's it. And until this week, not a single brute or monster had unstoppable or a way to get it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, for an army that's always supposed to be charging, like,
not
fair enough, maybe it's a bit
unstoppable.
overpowered to bake it all into these guys, but give me an option. Like, let me spend some more points to get
Let me buy
it.
a banner here, yeah.
But yeah, so... Oh, and the other one is, when are they going to buff Huskarls? All of us have got so many Huskarls.
So many.
I'm not sure if anyone's seen the new starter pack they've released for North.
Huskarls.
2 boxes of Huskarls and 2 of Valkyries. The 2 units that no one's running.
I think PB are trying to get rid of some models.
Then buff them. Buff them and we'll all start buying the starter sets.
I think Aaron bought 7 Raiders. You buff Huskarls, you buy 7.
Yeah.
Boxes. Yeah.
But yeah, so... I'm excited about some of the changes. Some feel less impactful, but I'm definitely excited about what they're doing with the Jotnars, and picked up the old fifth anniversary starter set that had a few more of the beasts in it. So look forward to run some lists with that as well.
Get some big pigs.
But yeah, I've played 1 or 2 games with the new rules. I think maybe one against each of you guys. What did you feel like playing against the new Nords?
I'm going to do a callback to something Sam said a while ago, and I will say that I think the Nords update might be in the top 10 worst things to have ever happened in my life. Yeah, that was a horrific game. I actually felt like what I was running at the time, this is pre-update 100 Kingdoms, I was running like quite a efficient list. And to be fair, I felt good because I was making Josh sweat. But like by kind of turn 7, the writing was on the wall. Maybe even turn 6, actually.
So I was looking back at it afterwards, and turn 4, it was like I had less than 10 points and you had nearly 30. It was about a 20-point difference. Yeah. And there was this weird look in us of like, the score feels the wrong way around. Like, I'm Nords and I've got no points.
Yeah.
And then the next turn we scored exactly the same. And
I knew that was it from then on,
Yeah, from turn 6, it was my score went up, yours went down.
Because that was a classic, how long can I hold on to these objectives before you then kill me?
Yeah.
The answer with Jotnars is not enough time.
So, in stark contrast to that, in some ways, the game that I played against Josh, at the end of turn 2, the score was 2-0 to me.
Nice.
And I was feeling pretty good about myself. Although what I didn't notice at that point was the fact that Josh had got, I think it may have only been 4, but it could have been 5 monsters sitting on the side just waiting for their card to be drawn.
Yep.
And so the final score at the end of that game, I had scored 19 points. I think I may have made a mistake and I should have only scored 17, but 19 is what is written on my app and I'm sticking with it. And Josh, in a moment of wonder for him, scored his first 3-digit match by scoring 109 points.
Oh, I mean, Josh, you just suck so hard.
I remember that game.
Why did we play with you?
Because it seems to be, I guess apart from you and 100 Kingdoms, everyone else is just loving running monsters. And I think Sam had 3 or 4 in that game as well.
Yeah, I did.
Which gave an opportunity for the Sea Jotnar to show how great it can be. Because when you've got Fiend Hunter and you re-roll your impacts and then you re-roll your clash and then you re-roll your volley, there's just nothing. It's just nothing that takes that many hits. So, yeah, I think Sam experienced a few things just...
Yeah.
I can tell you, it looked very pretty. Like, I had the Ice Jotnar and the Seder and the Sea Jotnar and then the Mountain Jotnar off in the distance. And they were all right there, 6 inches off my end of the table or something.
And you had like a couple of Siege Breakers or something like that.
Yeah, I had got 2 Siege Breakers and an Abomination.
Solid 2 kilograms of resin on that table.
Let me tell you, running Siege Breaker Behemoths against modern day Nords is one of the saddest experiences.
Everything has evasion.
Because, everything, and it's not just evasion, it's like, oh, this has got evasion 2. Oh, there's I've done something which makes this one evasion 3 now. So you come along with your Siege Breaker Behemoth, you've rolled 10 dice, which is not a huge number for a monster, but the reason why it's a good monster is because it's got a smite, and I'm going to ignore 1 because of Tenacious. Oh, and I got like something else, and, it just doesn't make any difference. It's...
and then the new Seder gives other Jotnars Fearless, so you're terrifying.
Oh, yes, I'm terrifying too. Makes no difference.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much. The Siege Breaker Behemoth with a charge and a clash and 3 wounds. Yeah, no good. And, Abomination, I had my Abomination lined up against Mountain Jotnar, which in the olden days, if I get a charge off, he's going to be held up for a turn. And literally, I charge into him and he's like, I think I'm going to clash without inspiring.
Horrible.
There you go.
Nords for you.
Something that you haven't particularly run a huge amount, and so I wonder what you'd think about whether this update is going to change that, is sort of beast focused lists. Fenner Beast Pack. We've got the Gold.
Sorry, Biggest Pigus. That's how they're being pronounced right now.
Biggest Pigus.
Biggest Pigus.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not what I heard.
No, that's not what I heard.
Yes, I would. So I've been playing around with a few lists with a lot more half-bloods, and I think lots of them are lots of Nords just generally are quite glass cannon-y. So lots of those beasts, the Fenrir, the Goltir, even stuff like Ogre, if you get a charge and a clash off on them, I mean, they're pretty horrible. Yeah, I mean, the Fenrir, they're 6 attacks. If they're part of the Vargir's Warband, they've got Flurry. So you get a charge and a clash off. I think they're clash 3. So you're getting about... The guy's going to have to roll about 16 dice in defense. Something like that. So it's really great, but you got to get that charge off. And often with them, again, you haven't got Unstoppable. And really, when I've been building lists, it feels like you need some screens. And so the way I've looked at it is, maybe get like quite a few Raiders and Stalkers out the first turn, and then get a whole load of different beasts out the next turn. Nords have a rule where if one unit's in contact, another friendly unit gets +2 to its charge against it. So if you kind of have all these lights running around, getting in the way or attacking, enemy regiments, all those beasts behind get a better shot at getting their charges and clashes in. So it's a list. I've got a few in the works which I'd like to run. The problem is often you've spent so many points on the 4 or 5 lights you want running around, the 4 or 5 beasts behind. You've got no money left for your heavies, and it feels like a list that's going to be very old school Nords, but just peter out around turn 4 or 5. And like Josh experienced in my game against him, if you get like 3 turns at the end where you're like table them essentially, and you just get to free score, you just get so many points. It's very easy to catch up. And
10 turns is a lot. I even had a regiment at the end. I had one thing of Ash and Dawn at the end, which we kind of figured out through different scoring stuff, that I would just stay on an objective with that. It was actually one of yours closest to you. That's how far up I'd gone on the board, and you just took all the other 3. But even then, you were just like, you had enough. I mean, 10 turns is so much.
It is a lot.
Really can turn it around in the late game. Probably more than most other war games.
And I've noticed that a lot when I played Old Dominion. Like, again, if you table someone... like
both early and late game.
But yeah, if you table someone around turn 7 or 8 and you have 2 or 3 turns of just getting to score the whole board, you can score so many points and really pull it back from being far behind. And what I feel like that then means for Nords is, getting that super aggressive early game. I just don't think it gives you enough. So we'll see. I'd like to run a few more beast lists. I've got a few more of them that I'm building and painting up. So we'll see how it goes. But personally, I think you're going to see me at least take to tournaments lists with a lot of Jotnars in it. Rather than... Well, I think actually Jotnars and beasts probably, just because quite a few of them are quite cheap and light, and you give a few things to kind of give a meat wall to the Jotnars, but I think that's probably going to be the list you're going to see: Jotnar heavies, and some late game armies from the Nords, which feels bizarre, but
that seems to be the way the cookie crumbles. The other thing we meant to mention just about monsters in general is that all their wounds are technically non-degrading, which basically means that as you lose wounds, it's not like you get bracketed or anything. Like you could be on 1 wound left on your Jotnar Seder, and you still do whatever it is, 16 or 14 attacks, whatever it is.
12, yeah.
Okay, it just felt like 16, but that's fine. You could be on 1 wound left and still do 12 attacks, and it wouldn't be a problem. And so, whereas if your Household Knights or your Incarnate Sentinels take a bunch of damage, you've lost a few attacks. So it's that non-degrading thing which I think really makes monsters so viable at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. There's a level of consistency there where I don't know, your Ash and Dawn, for example, that feels so strong. 16 attacks when they're at full strength feels loads.
Yeah.
You know, suddenly they go down to 11 and, you know, it feels, okay, it's still right. But when you've got one stand left and it's only 6, it, you know, definitely feels, okay, they're not going to...
7, but yeah, still.
Yeah, they're not going to do as much, are they? So, yeah, I definitely... that is a big thing. I think, like, even movability, you know.
Yeah,
that smaller
maneuverability
base,
is amazing, yeah.
get through tighter gaps.
And you get one corner on, you've got the whole regiment on.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially the ones that are 6 stands.
Well,
I think
even just
it's
3. Like, you can contest an MSU just by getting a corner on.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
And if you land a charge, then you win.
Yeah.
If you want to yours, it's
ABC.
So.
Yeah.
Always
But yeah,
charging.
so I think monsters are really viable. At the moment, they have started to release degrading stats for First Blood.
Yeah.
So-
I imagine that might be a thing for the last argument at some point.
We're expecting it will probably flow out. I'm trying to remember. I remember a while ago they changed Blessed on First Blood, and then it was about half a year later they changed it on Last Argument. So
Yeah.
I think it's likely they'll, you know, dipping a toe in the water, and then we might see that.
Yeah, no,
Follow on.
I'm just looking forward to the getting my Archangel, building it, painting it, and then for everything to start being bracketed as soon as I finally get a monster.
I don't know what it'd be like for different stuff. Looking at Half Blood, it's quite cool the way they've done it. Like, it's not...
Yeah.
It's not like it loses masses, and so for the Jotnars at least, the like defense goes down, the clash goes down, but the attacks go up. So you get this sense that the monster's kind of berserking out and it's just swinging wildly.
Yeah.
And so it's quite a cool thematic thing there, while also it gets a little bit weaker once you do the maths, but it's, you know, it's not...
Like, the clash value isn't quite as good. Even though you get more attacks.
Clash being one low.
It's quite cool thematically, yeah, I like it.
It works thematically and does get a tiny bit weaker, but not enough that it's not like they're doing something dramatic, which I think would possibly shake things up a bit too much. So
It actually just, I guess, thematically is quite cool. It makes it more swingy.
yeah,
So you have more attacks, but you have less clash. So it's like, generally speaking, averagely, you're doing less, but you could roll terribly and do nothing, or you could roll really well and do a ton of attacks. So, but yeah, I mean, that's true of everything, but more so of this. Right, anyway, shut up. I've heard enough about Nords, and I'm already more terrified about facing them. So, but thanks for running that through, Josh. I really appreciate it.
I haven't even said sorry. I've got one more, my most favourite
my
thing.
goodness. Okay, go on then.
As someone who's not very good at painting and has never made it to LGT with a fully painted army, and nearly made it last year, I was about 90% there. This year, if it's a Jotnar heavy...
Yeah. Nice and easy.
There's theoretically like a list I could have where I have like
7 models.
seven Jotnars and maybe a regiment, and then I'd have no excuse not to have a painted army. So I'm just going to set that challenge for myself now. If you see me at LGT this year and it's not a fully painted army, feel free to shame me.
Yes, because you basically need to do... Your rate doesn't even need to be as fast as painting 1 model a month.
yeah, that is true. That is kind of mad. And also, I've definitely said this before, but this is something that always gripes me. It doesn't really gripe me, but an MSU of mercenary crossbowmen, the surface area of it probably is quite similar to a nice Jotnar. So you think, actually, it could be even more because you've got 12 individual minis, whereas with a nice Jotnar, there's one thing. So you're just like, yeah.
And I feel like you don't get fatigue as much. Like, especially in the previous metas where we've had a lot of blocks of regiments.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, I'm going to paint 24 of the same guy now.
I mean, even 6 household guard. Building them was such a slog. Because there was 3 parts for the head, 2 parts for the body, 2 parts for the legs, a cape, 2 shoulder pads, 2 arms, and then the pike, and then the halberd that went on top of the pike. It was ridiculous, and you're doing that for each one. And then, because it's their household guards, you've got to paint them up in big blocks. So I did 24 of them at once, and I wanted to cry.
So yeah, there's something nice about painting monsters as well. Bit more fun, less fatigue, a little bit less effort.
Also, I think it might be a nice chance for you to try out some highlighting, Josh, a bit more, because you've got bigger volumes, bigger shapes to be able to highlight, and we'll do it. We live together.
I don't know
there's
how
no
to highlight, but it's
excuses.
okay, because for anyone else like me who doesn't know how to highlight, what you should do is you should read the Wargamer's Guide, where we have incredibly helpful tips about how to paint your minis.
Yeah, the Wargamer's Handbook is available from Amazon, so we've got a little link in the description. But yeah, if you want to actually send us in some questions, maybe you have a couple of lists from Nords that you'd like to try out and you want to know what we think of them, you're very welcome. Or 100 Kingdoms or Spires, whatever you want. You know, you can send us in a Euroni one if you want. I don't really know if I'll be able to say much about it, but send it in and we'll chat about it. But yeah, Sam, why don't you tell us what the email is?
The email is joshingaroundinaya@gmail.com.
Sam, your voice is so perfect for podcasts.
Take it away. After what I have been drinking for the last while, it's well lubricated.
Oh yeah, you got to top me up, Josh. Right, well, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Chugging brews, fresh and bold. Banter silver, but all it takes are gold. Roll the dice on tails tonight. Bone golems got a date in sight. Tacticians at the table side. Conquest battles on swords of pride. Echoes loud in empty space. Each episode a new embrace. I'm hooked on joshing around in mythical EA. Laughter rings like golden bells. Tales unfold where wonder dwells. Pull up a chair, let the journey unfold. Whispers of adventure and stories untold. With a clink and a cheer, we down a new drink. Not Josh with a smirk who gives us a wink. Voices clash like swords in fight. In joshing around, we feel just right.